So this was an actual game played way back in ancient Egyptian times. You can see here an illustration. Take a picture real quick. So, yeah, there's some hieroglyphs and a picture of workers cutting wheat or something, maybe papyrus, I'm not sure. And it looks like here's a pharaoh and someone else, another pharaoh. They're playing Senet right there in their house, except they're not facing each other, but I don't know, maybe it's just the way that it was played. Maybe it's supposed to depict two people playing on the same side of the table, but they didn't have the skill to show them like next to each other from this angle. I don't know. Anyway, getting too deep into it. On this side, there's some more hieroglyphs. It's like a bird. Rope, I don't know what that is. Water. A scarab. I think these are feathers. I don't know. I think this is supposed to be a house with, I don't know. Let's see the other side. Similar hieroglyphs on the other side. Same thing. This side. Again, it says Senet, the game. There's like two people. This side. Senet, ancient Egypt game. Green. It sold for $30.95 wherever it was sold at. But I got it online for $10. Yeah. Here's a picture of the Senet board game that's inside on a set. I'll show you the board game in a bit. The Senet game is played on boards similar to those found in the tombs of Egyptian kings such as Ramses III and Tutankhamun, King Tut. The Egyptians referred to the game in hieroglyphics as one of passages, with the movement of the pieces representing the wanderings of the soul in the underworld. The hieroglyphics on the sides of the Senet game are reproductions of hieroglyphs found on a 3,000-year-old papyrus and describe the wandering in the game. The Senet game rules of play have been enjoyed by thousands of game enthusiasts. We believe that will give you hours of entertainment, and the game will be a beautiful addition to your home. Okay. So, in this video, I'm going to show you the board game and walk you through the rules of the game. In a second video, I'm going to play a game of Senet without any whispering, just straight playthrough. But, yeah, this video will just go over the rules. There's a drawer. Talk about that in a minute. It attaches into the board game. You'll see. Put that to the side. So, this is the board game. I can't zoom out far enough to show the whole thing in one shot, but that's the top. There are 30 of these squares. These are the hieroglyphs on the side of the box that they were referring to. I don't know what they mean. If you do, let us know. Here's the underside. the drawer goes in here. Like that. It's one complete set. Anyway. This is the drawer containing the game pieces. Here are some die that are optional to use, but they're not part of the original game, of course. These are the playing pieces. You have 5 of each. One is these yellow or slash white cone-shaped ones. Those are 5. Where's the 5th one? And then you have these green ones that look like, I don't know, a drum, or it's just a different shape. It kind of looks like the rook in chess. There's, again, 5 of those. And likewise, here are 5. Here are 5 die sticks, we call them. These are the things that you throw onto the ground or on the table, and whatever, depending on the outcome of rounded versus flat edges that you get, determines how many moves you get to, how many squares you get to move up. So there's 5. And this is the rule book, which we'll be reading today. Okay, I'm gonna leave these pieces out and put the drawer back into the board game. So we can go through these rules. Actually, I'm just gonna leave them in here. Okay, so it is a game for 2 players. Each player attempts to beat the other in racing around the board and bearing off his playing pieces first. Each player has 5 playing pieces, black or white. The playing pieces move around the board as indicated in figure 1. So there are 30 squares, and you have to move in this order. On this board, it goes from here down and around, back up. Here, and then finally this way out to the end. Bam. We'll explain what these ones mean in a second. Alright. To begin the game, the pieces are placed on squares 1 through 10. That's these ones here. 1 through 10, the top row here. With the white pieces occupying the odd numbered squares, the black pieces on the even numbered squares. So, white pieces aren't odd, so that means the white pieces go every other odd. Just like that. 5 black pieces, or green, go like this. All the even squares, 1 through 10. Just like that. So the game starts out like that every time. Alright. The movement of the pieces is determined by throws of the 4 two-sided dice sticks. See, that's these black sticks here. The dice sticks score as follows. If you get 1 flat side up, that's 1 point. If you get 2 flat sides up, that's 2 points. If you get 3 flat sides up, that's 3 points. 4 flat sides up equals 4 points. 4 round sides up is 6 points. Like that. And there's a 5th piece. If you get a 5 in either way, 5 upward, 5 round or flat pieces, it doesn't count for anything. So there are no 5s in this game. They don't work. So the idea would be you shuffle these in your hand and then you throw them. Like that. Kind of. I can't throw them too hard because this is an ASMR video, but in this case I got 2 flat sides, so that means that I get 2 flat sides up, 2 points, so I would move my piece 2 squares. But anyway, that's that part. Next. Here's a note about the dice that came with the game. Obviously dice weren't invented yet. I don't think so, in ancient Egypt. And they had these sticks. I think they were reeds in the original game. But it says, for those players not interested in using the dice sticks, a standard die is included. But remember, to preserve the authenticity of the original game, no 5s are allowed. So you can use the dice if you want, 1 for each player. But if you roll a 5, it counts for nothing. In order to ascertain which player has the darker pieces, players alternate throwing the dice sticks until one throws a 1. So until someone gets a flat side up, that determines who gets the dark pieces. If you throw a 1, then you have the dark pieces. This player has the darker pieces and moves the piece on square 10, which is this one, over to square 11. So that's the first move of the game. After the first move, moving 10 to 11, the player with the dark pieces then throws again. So they get to throw the sticks repeatedly, and then move your pieces. If the player throws a 1, 4, or 6, the player then moves any pieces, the indicated number of squares along the board, and then throws again. If 2 or 3 is thrown, then the player moves a piece the indicated number of squares, and the turn then passes to the opponent. Next, the second player must make the first move from square 9, so your first move must be from here for the white pieces. But succeeding throws may move any of his or her playing pieces, so just like the dark pieces, the first move has to be from your last one here. But here you can move them any places. After you make that first move, you can move any of the other ones. This turn ends with the throwing of a 2 or 3. To clarify, each player's turn always ends when a 2 or a 3 is thrown. So, yeah, if you're throwing the sticks, you get a 1, 4, or a 6. You get 2 sense because when you throw 5 sticks, it seems most likely that you get 2 or 3. If a piece lands on a square which is occupied by an opponent's piece, the opponent's piece is considered to be under attack and is moved back to the square vacated by the piece in play. 2 pieces of the same color cannot occupy the same square, but 2 pieces which occupy consecutive squares, such as 16 and 17, protect each other from being under attack by the opponent's pieces. So, let's look at the example here. If the dark piece was here, and white was here, let's say, if white rolled, or if they threw a 3, if they got a number 3, they would land right there, squarely on the dark piece. In this case, yes, you could overtake the square, and the dark piece would have to move where the white piece was, which was here. That's how that works. Now, the other rule said, if a dark piece, if this happens on the same pieces, if the dark piece here rolled a 3, you couldn't do that. So, yeah. Okay, and then the last part of that paragraph said, if you have 2 of your own pieces in consecutive squares, they protect each other from attack. So, again, in this example, if white here rolled a 2, or threw a 2, or a 3, they wouldn't be able to overtake any of those pieces because they're protected. They're protecting each other. But let's say if you rolled a 4, 2, 3, 4, you can do that. You can jump over the pieces. Likewise, if it's just one piece and you roll a 4, like here, white could jump over this piece. That's okay. Okay. 3 pieces of the same color in a row form a block and cannot be attacked or passed by the opponent's pieces, although they do not block the play of pieces of the same color. Any dice stick throw which cannot be used to make a forward movement must be used to move a piece in the reverse direction. If the move backwards lands a piece on a square occupied by an opponent's piece, then the opponent's piece is moved forward to the square just vacated by the piece in play. That is, they exchange places. If no move is possible in either direction, then the turn of the player ends. So that was a lot of information. Let's start with the first part. Here they said, if you have a block of 3 of the same color in a row, this is a complete roadblock for the board game. So if you had white right here, for instance, and you rolled a 4 or a 6, for instance, you could land here, but there are 3 pieces and they form a block, so you cannot proceed. Likewise, you cannot attack any of the pieces in this block because they're protecting each other. On the other hand, if you had a green piece here and you rolled to a 4 or a 6, since they're the same color, they don't block this piece, so you could go ahead and jump here if you rolled a 4. But remember, you can't roll a 1, 2, or 3 because you cannot replace your own piece. So, yeah. There's that. And the last part. What did it say? Oh, okay. Sorry. So, if you rolled a 1 or a 2 or a 3, for instance, or any number, let's say you're the white piece, you rolled a 4, but you cannot move forward. You must move backwards in order. So if you rolled a 4, you land yourself there and it has to be backwards. But they also said, if there is an opponent's piece in the place you're going to land when you move backwards, then it's the same way as moving forward. You change places with this piece, and they get to move up So there's that. And if for any reason you couldn't move either direction, then your turn ends until you can move. Alright, the next section says square 27 marked by, it's blank, but it's the water piece. This one. This square is the trap. Any player's piece landing on this square must return to square 15 marked by this symbol here. If square 15 is occupied, then the piece must return to the start of the game. The penalized piece then begins its journey again toward completing the game. Alright, it's pretty self-explanatory. So, if you were a white piece here, and you're close to the end of the game, you rolled a 2, you'd land on the water, that would instantly demote you to this square here, with that symbol. But if there was a green piece here already, and you rolled a 2, you cannot overtake this piece. You have to go back to the beginning here. Assuming that that piece is unoccupied. If it's occupied, I assume you go to the earliest square. I don't know. Safe squares. Squares 26, marked by this one here. 28, marked by these flamingo-looking birds. And 29, the 2 people, are safe squares where pieces are protected and are not vulnerable to being under attack by the opponent's playing pieces. A player doesn't have to move off of these safe squares unless he or she chooses to do so. Yeah, so these are safe spots. You can just wait here until you're ready to move off. Pairing off. A player may not begin to move pieces off the board until all of his pieces are out of the first row. It is not necessary to land exactly on square 30 before pairing off. If you throw a number higher than required, you may use this bonus amount to move another playing piece the amount of the throw left over from the amount used to pair the first piece off the board. So, in this case we have a lot of greens out of the first row, but there are still 2 left. So if I moved this green piece down the board towards the end, I would not be able to proceed to the very end until I have all of these 2 pieces off the first row. So I would need to, first and foremost, try to get all of my green pieces out of the first row. Once that happens, then anything is up for grabs and I can move off of the game board and start winning. But yeah, your first primary objective with this game is to get your pieces out of the first row. All of them. What else did they say? If you throw a number higher than required, right? So if I was here and I rolled a 4, 1, 2, there's two numbers left. So I can give it to any of these pieces to move forward, like here. Like that. Or backwards, or what have you. So the points roll over. If any of the player's pieces are attacked and moved back to row 1, then pieces of that player, which remain on the board in the 3rd row, cannot bear off the board until all of the player's pieces are once again out of the first row. So again, similar story. If your piece was close to the end of the board, but for some reason you had a piece get demoted to the first row, you cannot move this piece off of the board until you get this one again out of the first row. Then you can continue. The first player to bear all of his pieces is the winner. If players wish to keep score of the outcome of a series of games, then the winner is awarded 1 point for each of the opponent's pieces left on the third row, and 3 points for each piece in row 1 or 2. This is a game of chance and fate, and as in life, the outcome is unknown until the game is completed. So that's Senet. In a second video, I'm going to play a game of Senet without any whispering or anything. Just we'll see how the game goes. I'll roll and decide which one is me and which one is you guys, and we'll see who wins. Anyway, let's put this back. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope that made sense. The game is kind of confusing at first, but it's fine. Alright. It's a really beautiful game board. It'd be fun to play with the person, but it's just gonna be me for now. Alright. So, that's the game of Senet. If you have a chance to play it, you should try it sometime. I'll see you in the next one where I play a full game of Senet.